This LinkedIn outreach sequence books over 10 calls every single month. So I'm going to walk you through it so you can start getting some value from it. Now, this is probably a situation where you just need more book calls and you just can't wait for your lead flow to really kick in. You need to be proactive, but you don't want to be pushy or salesy. You don't want to send spammy messages that get ignored, because most LinkedIn outreach is just terrible. It just says stuff like, hey, I'd like to add you to my professional network, or worse, here, buy my thing. And this is the outreach problem. You need a better sequence. So the question is, well, what makes good outreach? The first thing is it being personalized, because it shows that you did some kind of research, so you mentioned something specific about them. The second is that it's value first, so you give before you ask. You actually lead with value. The third element is it being conversational, so not a sales pitch, an actual conversation. And the fourth element is a clear next step, so it's easy to say yes. Basically, are you open to a quick chat? And good outreach feels like a conversation, not a pitch, and that's really the key. So there's four main messages that I want to break down in the sequence. You can see them on screen, but I'm going to break them down in more detail through the course of this video. So the first message is your connection request through LinkedIn, and the goal is just to get them to accept it. There's nothing else outside of that. So I've left a template on screen here for you, right? Which ultimately is to highlight that personalization is clear. You really want to mention something specific. So whether it's a post that they wrote, a comment they made, something that shows that you're not just mass connecting, which is something that's so common when people are trying to use these automation tools, which ends up getting their account banned, sometimes permanently banned. Terrible idea, by the way, if you're considering that. So just something really simple like this that shows that you've done a bit of research, keep it super simple, and you're going to get a great acceptance rate if you do that versus trying something generic. Now, the second message is a welcome message. So again, I've left the template on screen, but you just basically want to say, refer to the role that they're in, refer to their problem area that they're in, and you just want to ask a question. So you don't want to pitch, just start a conversation, because you actually just want to learn about their problem. That's all you're optimizing for in the second message. The third one is then a value message. So wait a little bit of time, typically day 5 to day 7. And then now you want to start providing value and demonstrating expertise. You can say, hey, John, I was thinking about what you said about problem. I just helped a client solve this exact issue. Here's what we did. And then you can put a brief case study or an insight, thought this might be helpful. So you can see you're just giving value. You're not actually asking for anything, and you're positioning yourself as an expert who can actually help. So again, you're setting yourself apart from all of the other just spammy stuff that you might see on LinkedIn. And then the fourth message is now inviting them to a call. So you're saying, hey, John, based on our conversation, I think I can help you solve problem. Would you be open to a quick 15-minute call to explore this? Here's my calendar. So just make it easy to say yes. When you got your calendar link, it's one click, it's 15 minutes, it's not an hour. So just try and make things simple, and you'll get a certain conversion rate on this, which will then enable you to figure out the math to do this at scale. So all you're doing here as a timeline is sending a connection request, sending your welcome message once they accept the connection request, then sending a value message, then your invitation message, and then actually triggering a book call off the back of this. And this is really a warm, natural sequence, but you're not rushing it, you're actually building rapport. Now, you might be thinking, well, how do you then personalize at scale? And this is why I use a template, but you customize 20 to 30% of each message. So the opening line, the specific problem, and the case study. So you really just want to mention their post, their company, their role, their problem. And this just shows that you did some kind of research, right? Now, you can use LinkedIn search to find your ideal clients, or LinkedIn Sales Navigator if you have it, and then a spreadsheet to actually track who you message and when, because you need to stay organized with this type of thing, especially if you're going to do it at scale. Now, the math for this you can see on screen as an example, but ultimately you're going to have your own math subject to your industry, your niche, etc. The main thing is to try and get into some kind of consistency in your flow and your approach to eventually know how many of each connection request and each type of message you need to send to get to the point where you have a booked call that you've been able to warm up in some way. Now, some of the main mistakes here is just sending a generic connection request out. I'd like to add you to my professional network, because that will just get ignored. So work on personalizing it. The second one is pitching in your first or second message. It's just too soon. You haven't actually built any rapport yet, so you really need to lead with value first. Now, the third mistake is then not following up. Most people are going to need 3 to 4 messages or touch points, sometimes even more, while also being massaged by your content at the same time to get to a point where they're actually going to book a call with you. So don't just give up after message 2. Continue, make sure you're consistent with your content. This will warm them up, nurture them, build trust, and then put you in a position where you have a much higher chance of them actually booking a call. And be personal, be patient, be persistent. That's ultimately the formula here. Now, use a spreadsheet, as I mentioned, to track all of this. Actually review your data, optimize it, and make sure that you're in a position where you can scale in a sustainable way by doing this. And when you do this, right, you want to get to a point where you're thinking, well, why would you actually do it this way versus only chasing inbound? In reality, they work really well as a flywheel, like I just described, where you're sending the messages and you're posting content, because then you're working on both ends. But if you just like really need clients like now, like immediately, you're basically being proactive by reaching out, but you're doing it in a different way versus just blasting traditional cold outbound, which is very, very difficult to work in this particular area. You're creating a flywheel effect where you're adding value first, you're sending a connection request, leading with value, and then using your content to actually warm up and nurture that person while turning yourself into an authority on LinkedIn, which is really going to be the key to generating inbound leads with consistency. This is then going to fill your pipeline and get you to a point where you've got sustainable growth. So your 30-day challenge, I put it on screen here, right? Start with sending 50 personalized connection requests and then go down the rest of the stack to get yourself to a position where you're booking 5 to 10 calls in 30 days from outreach alone. And this is how you test the sequence, and then you can scale it up over time. And once you do this, you're going to be able to book calls consistently. You'll have a proactive lead gen system. You're not just going to be waiting on the sidelines of a volume to come in. You're just going to be taking control immediately, and you'll be controlling your pipeline as a result. And this is how you can start to really ramp up your time to result. But if you are someone who really wants to have absolute assurance around the result, and you want to do this by having a consistent, steady stream of inbound leads on autopilot, then you should be talking to me. You should be talking to our team here at Influx. So I've left a link in the description box below where there's a completely free training, a breakdown video where I walk you through exactly how we go about putting you in a position where you've got qualified sales calls and qualified leads coming inbound on autopilot through LinkedIn. We have a guarantee that underpins that, at least 50K in net new pipeline within 90 days. So if something like that's of interest to you, there's a link in the description box below of this video for you to better understand that and to take a look. If you gained something from this particular video, please also take a second to hit the like button, to leave a thoughtful comment letting me know what type of content you'd like to see more of, and also to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future uploads as well. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one.